So let's just have a conversation today about how to get approved for a huge no-doc business line of credit for a startup or a very young business with little or no sales. Don't go anywhere. You're going to love today's conversation. I guarantee it. Welcome back, folks, to another edition of the Awesome Sweetie Kiwi Show. How are you today? I hope you're all doing fantastic. I'm doing marvelous. If you are to ask me, if you are doing as great as I am, go grab a cup of coffee or tea or vodka and let's roll. In today's conversation, I want to explain to you clearly how to get approved for a large no-doc business line of credit for a startup or a very young business, even if you have little or no sales. The first thing you need to do is to get familiar with the no-doc startup business line of credit. So what does that mean? First of all, let's understand what a line of credit is. A line of credit means that you have money that's sitting in your account that the lender has put at your disposal. And if you need the money, you can use it at any time. So if you don't use it, you don't pay any interest on it, the money just sitting there. And you can use a line of credit to grow your business. You can take care of operating costs, marketing campaigns, seasonal slow periods, inventory or supplies, and even payroll. Okay. And the thing here is that when we speak about no doc, it just means that the lender is asking for a very small amount of paperwork. In other words, in some cases, based on our research, they only ask for one element. So that will be either your bank statements or a direct connection to your accounting software or a direct connection to your bank account. And one thing I want to say here is that normally when you have a full documentation business line of credit, lenders will want to see things like business plan, business credit report, income tax returns, financial statements, accounts receivable and accounts payable, collateral, and in some cases, some legal documents, right? But in a no-doc business line of credit, you don't have that. You only have one or two. And one thing you also need to understand is that if you are a startup, or a very young business, meaning you have been in existence for less than 18 months, you got to take care of a few things. Make sure that you have your EIN, that you are incorporated. In other words, that you have a business, not a side gig. It has to be an LLC, LP, S Corp, C Corp. It has to be a corporation. Okay. If you are a sole proprietorship, you can still get a loan, an EIN-only business line of credit, but it will not be as large as you would get if you were incorporated. And one thing I also want to say here is that make sure that you constantly work on your credit score. Even if an EIN only, no doc business line of credit doesn't really care about your score, you still need to maintain a good credit score. Step number 2, folks, you want to search for the top no doc business lenders. So when we speak about EIN only, large no doc business line of credit for a startup, there are a few players that you want to pay attention to. Now, let me ask you a question. Big decision time. Are you in the market right now for a large no-doc business line of credit, or are you looking for a no-doc business loan? Those two are different. A loan is something that you have to prepay over a certain amount of time, so you actually get the money up front, whereas you get all the money up front, whereas a line of credit is just sitting there and you can tap into it when you need it. Okay. So what are the top no-doc business providers for line of credit? So you have Rapid Finance. We have actually covered this on another show, so you might want to go into our catalog if you want to watch more about that. But we have Rapid Finance. We have a Scordis EIN lender, 10/10. This is best for quick funding. We have Lendio, 9.5/10. This is best overall no-doc business line of credit provider for startups and very young businesses. We have Lenza. Our score, 9.5/10. This lender is best for fair credit. We have Bluevine, 9/10, and this is best for industry coverage and product availability. They have a lot of products there in terms of no-doc business line of credit and business loans. And then you have Headway Capital, 9/10. This is best for customer service, and they can give you up to $100,000 in business line of credit with no documentation required. Then you have Fundbox. This is best for bad credit. Our score 9/10. You have PayPal Credit, 8.5/10. Our score. This is best for PayPal clients. If you are one of them, you might want to check. PayPal doesn't require any documentation. They just want a link. They already have access to your account anyway, so they can see the transactional history in your account. You have Square Capital. Same procedure here. You better be a Square customer to take advantage of that. 8.5/10. Our score. Then you have National Business Capital and Services, 8/10. This is best for mid-sized to large business line of credits with no documentation. And you have Fora Financial. Our score is 8/10, and this is great for fast-growing businesses. And the business line of credit with no documentation here goes all the way to $500,000. So this is pretty good. So I've given you the top 10 providers of no-doc business line of credit for startups and very young businesses. In step number 3, I want you to zero in on 2 lenders. We want to really focus on 2, and we want to focus on the some of the top 2. First, we want to look at Lendio. And Lendio, we have actually scored Lendio 9.5/10, and Lendio is kind of cool because this is, in our view, the best overall no-doc business line of credit provider for startups and very young businesses. You have a line amount from $1,000 to $500,000. The time to funds as soon as 1 to 5 days. The interest rate can go as low as 8 all the way to 24%. So you look at 8% to 24%. And what we love with Lendio is that they have great customer service. The application is really fast. You can do it online. It takes about 10 to 15 minutes. As long as you have all the paperwork that's needed, and all you need again is just the bank statements. And if you are even luckier, if you are looking for a smaller amount, let's say less than $100,000, they would just want to have a connection to a link up to your bank account. So this is pretty good. And in some cases, they might ask for your tax returns, but it depends on the states where you live and the industry you're in. The second player that we love is Bluevine. So when it comes to large no-doc business line of credit for startups and very young businesses, Bluevine is kind of cool too, because this is best for industry coverage and product availability. So here you get credit lines up to $250,000. Rates are as low as 4.8%, and you can receive approvals in 5 minutes. 5 minutes. That's what they're saying, and we've tested it, and you can get within 5-10 minutes, give or take. And what we love here is that you can use a Bluevine line of credit with no documentation for nearly everything. You can actually use it for working capital, to hire, to the only thing is they want you to have at least $10,000 in monthly revenue or $10,000 in a projected sales revenue. Sales revenue. So if you are like a brand new business, then you have no sales, right? So they want you to have a business plan, or you're going to have to talk to someone at Bluevine. But if you are a very young business, in other words, you've been in existence for less than 18 months, you need to have at least $10,000 in monthly revenue. Step number 4, you want to fulfill at least one of the 3 C's. What we call here at the Sweetie Q, we show the 3 C's. So the 3 C's stands for credibility, cash, and collateral. So the thing here is, if you are a startup or very young business, the lender, and you want a no-doc business line of credit, the lender has to rely on something, right? So they're not getting any paperwork from you. They're not getting any documentation. That's kind of fine. They're cool with that. But they need to at least believe that the persons behind the company are kind of qualified to run the company. So that's the first thing about credibility. Credibility means that you have experience in the industry. You have professional background that matches the kind of business model you're trying to put forward. The current ownership of the company is experienced. They have maybe they have ownership in other businesses, either related businesses or ancillary businesses. So that's kind of important. The second element, the second C, stands for cash. So liquidity. So at the end of the day, the lender doesn't need any documentation from you. That's granted, but they want to make sure you have some ka-ching, ka-ching, ka-ching in the bank sitting there so you can back up whatever you're saying. So you have to understand, a business line of credit with no documentation remains a credit transaction, right? So the lender has to cover their ass too. They have to mitigate risk. So the way to do this is to make sure that you can show that you have sufficient cash flows, and that because if you show them your financial statements or your bank statements, they can see the transactional history that you're making some cash, right? So they can establish that you do have some constant inflow of cash. The third C is collateral. So you can pledge personal resources or business assets. And this really depends on the lender. It depends on the amount you're looking for. In some cases, a lender is fine if you can just show them a copy of the title. Let's say you want to pledge business assets. They just want to make sure that you show them the resources, the relevant information rather, about the business assets, and they can just give you the loan based on the collateral. But it depends on the sector you're in, the kind of assets you're pledging, and the lender. So big decision time. Big decision time. Do you fulfill at least one of the three C's? Do you have credibility? Talk to me. Do you have cash? Do you have collateral? Remember, you don't have to have all three. At least once you have at least one, that's fine. I'll be right back right after this. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back, folks, to another section of the Awesome Sweetie Kiwi Show. We are still having a conversation today about how to get a large, no-doc business line of credit for a startup or a very young business. And step number 5, I want you to get organized. It's very important. A lot of small businesses believe that a lot of startups rather, they just believe they can get funding without preparation. It takes time. It takes preparation. The first thing you need to do is to have your EIN. Please forget about remaining a sole proprietorship. We've said this time and again, it's important if you're trying to get a large, no-doc EIN-only business line of credit for your startup or very young business, it's important to incorporate. You want to be an LLC, an LP, an S Corp, a C Corp, doesn't matter, but you got to incorporate. You want to divorce your personal affairs from your business's affairs. You also want to set up all the things that matter in your business. Set up your accounting, set up payroll. You want to set up compliance, anything that will lend an air of credibility, an air of legitimacy to your business. You want to take care of that. You want to open a business bank account. Don't do all the transactions from your personal bank account. Open a business bank account. You want to try to get all the licenses and permits that pertain to your industry, right? Because the thing with business licenses and permits is that the lender may want to check that, because if you are in a specific industry and they realize based on their algorithm that your industry is highly regulated, they might want to mitigate risk by asking you to show the business licenses that you have for that particular industry. Remember that some industries are regulated at the federal level, but also at the state level. Okay, you got to think about business taxes also, so things like employer taxes, sales taxes, all that kind of stuff. And don't forget to have your articles of incorporation and organization. The bottom line here is what? Whether you are a startup or a very young business, you still need to maintain some kind of paperwork. Now, the lender might not ask you for that paperwork, but you still need to have them, because in your operational history, as long as your business is open, you might be looking for other types of funding, not just no-doc business loans or a business line of credit. You might want to get a traditional full documentation business loan or business line of credit from a credit union, from a traditional bank, or from an online lender. So you want to take care of, you want to be organized. Step number 6, you want to actually create a compelling business plan. And this is part of what I was saying earlier in terms of being organized. It's important. Why do you need a business plan? Because your business is brand new or very young and hasn't generated consistent revenue yet. So you need to have projected data, right? And you want to substantiate every piece of information you mention in the business plan. In other words, don't just throw numbers out there and just expect the lender to believe you. If your goal is to get a large no-doc business line of credit for a startup or a very young business with little to no sales, you need to have a game plan. And the game plan starts with having a business plan. This is important. So you want to write a captivating substantiated business plan. You need to craft a persuasive 10-page pitch also. Now, the pitch is just a summary version of the business plan because a lot of lenders don't have time to read 90 pages or 50 pages that you have in your business plan. So having a pitch is a great way to capture the lender's attention. And when we speak about business plan, you can do it yourself if you have a knack for writing business presentation. If not, you can outsource the whole thing. You can hire a local business consultant. You can hire a freelance worker, a freelancer, and this you can do it online on a lot of sites. For example, you can do it on Fiverr, Design Hill, LinkedIn Profinder, People Per Hour, Guru, Freelance Writing Gigs, Freelancer, Flex Jobs, TopTal, Upwork. You can also use a business plan software such as BizPlan, LivePlan, or Enloop. The whole thing here is to actually be very solid. Please do not be cheap. Don't try to get off the internet all those templates that you see sometimes people using. It's not really professional. You want to pay somebody, and this is an investment. And also remember that you can have projected data in your business plan because those are called forward-looking statements, and those are very important in business presentation. Okay, never rely on a business line of credit. You want to on your application, make sure you can back up all the data that you have. Step number 7. Now let me ask you a question. Are you ready to apply? Because you're going to have to apply it. That's the 7th step. Are you ready to apply it? Let's take the example of Bluevine. When it comes to applying for a no-doc business line of credit for a startup or a very young business with little to no sales. Big decision time. Big decision time. Are you ready to apply for a business line of credit for up to $250,000? Do you have all the paperwork, even though Bluevine is only asking you for 1 or 2 pieces of paperwork? Do you have them? All right, let's just start now. So you can see on the screen here the first. So if you want to apply for this large no-doc business line of credit from Bluevine, go to the Bluevine website, and on the web page, on the homepage rather, you have to click on to your far left, to your upper right rather, to your upper right. You want to click Get Started. You have it in the center also. So Get Started. And it will ask you whether you want to do a business check-in or business line of credit. Just choose business line of credit. Next, you want to enter your information, how much you need, the line of credit, your name, your phone number, your email address, your password, and you have to get started. So Bluevine wants you to register so they can have you in their system. And that way, even if they don't approve you for the loan, they can still have you in their database. They can email you solicitations down the road. And next, they want you to tell them about your business. So you have to put your basic information about your business, the annual revenue, your customers, whether you're B2C, B2G, or B2B, whatever it is, your EIN. See, EIN is very important, the kind of sector you're in. Next, you need to connect your bank account. See, Bluevine is not asking for anything. They're not asking for your financial statements, your accounting software. They just want you to connect your bank account, your business bank account. So they use a service called Plate. As you can see on the screen, they even said it. Bluevine uses Plate to connect your bank account. You click Continue and choose select your bank. And then you need to enter your credentials. And you click Submit. And the system will be working a little bit, sending your credentials to the bank and getting a response back. And then next, they want you to verify your identity. So you have to put your email where you want them to send you a PIN code. So click Continue. And then they will send you an email, and you just take the PIN code here and just enter. So we had to stop here because number one, we don't want a business line of credit from Bluevine. And number two, this video is purely educational. And number three, we don't want to spam Bluevine's system with inaccurate data. But you get the gist, right? The bottom line here is that once you have that PIN code, you just have to enter it into the Plate system, and then everything will be fine. So Bluevine will be able to link your, they will be able to connect to your bank account, and they will see your transactional history. They'll look at your liquidity level, and they should be able to approve you for a business line of credit with no documentation. All right, folks, thank you so much for your attention. I really appreciate it. Today, I was talking to you about how to get a large no-doc business line of credit for a startup or a very young business with little to no sales. First, you need to get familiar with what a no-doc startup business line of credit is. Number 2, you want to search for the top lenders. Number 3, you want to choose 1 or 2 lenders that you can really focus on. Number 4, you want to fulfill at least one of the 3 C's. Number 5, you want to get organized. Number 6, you want to create a captivating business plan. And number 7, last but not the least, you need to apply. Thank you so much for your attention, folks. I really appreciate it. I'll speak to you another time. But until then, remember, stay marvelous.